Hey everyone, I'm Jason Gilbert. I am the lead character designer at Intuition Robotics, and I am very, very excited to be speaking here at VOICE22 to all of you in Arlington, Virginia, and around the world. And I just want to say thank you, first of all, to Janice and to Jamie and to everybody at the VOICE22 team that helped make this happen so that I could be here and talk to you about the year of the in-house robots, which is kind of what we're here to discuss. And it's going to be an amazing, amazing session. We're going to have actual conversations with Moxie, with LEQ from Intuition Robotics, and even show some videos of Amazon's Astro. So let's dive right into it. Yay! Oh, and if you have a hat or a mustache, now is the time to put everything on because this is going to be a festive session. Okay, so first of all, who am I? I don't know. Who am I? I've been wondering that myself for many years. Well, actually, the truth is that up until about 2015, I was really interested in making and being a filmmaker. I went to film school and I made a few films after college, mostly indie films. And in 2015, I kind of discovered conversational AI, but totally by accident. I responded to a position on Facebook for a interactive screenwriter. I was like, "Ooh, this sounds interesting. What's an interactive screenwriter?" And so I went and interviewed at a company called In Person, and the position was actually a conversation designer. They had just been accepted to a Techstars and Disney accelerator in Los Angeles, and they were looking for screenwriters to help them create these interactive characters. In this case, it was really amazing characters that I had grown up with, characters like Miss Piggy. So the first chatbot that I made was for Facebook Messenger, on Facebook Messenger for Muppet Studio, which was really a dream come true for me because I grew up loving the Muppets and I got a chance to write in the voice of Miss Piggy, and I realized that this is a culmination of everything that I really love and I'm passionate about. On one hand, this sort of cinema and filmmaking and storytelling, character development. On the other hand, this sort of technology of robots and robotics and AI and conversational AI and being able to have a conversation with an agent, and I thought that was really, really fun. And so for the past 7 years now, I've been working on, I started off with chatbots like Miss Piggy, and then I moved on to make voice bots on the Amazon Alexa and the Google Home experiences for like Warner Music and Amazon Prime. In 2021, actually, I started working at Intuition Robotics on LEQ, the companion robot for aging adults in the US. And sort of, I'd like to present to you here in this session, in the 15 or 20 minutes that I have, some of the findings and some of the sort of design decisions that I've made and some of the ethical questions that come along with creating a robot that is a companion, that is live-in companion, that lives with the customer in the house. And so that's something that we're going to discuss. So without further ado, let's jump right in. 2022, the year of the in-house robot. Yes, that is the name of my session. Thank you for showing up. And let's go back in time a bit. Let's go back in time to the 1980s. And because I love the 80s, I was born in the late 70s, but I sort of grew up in the 80s. And one of the things that I would do, and it's right now I'm recording this session. It's a bit, obviously, this is not a live session. I'm recording it, and I'm recording it on a Saturday morning. And so, ironically, one of the greatest pleasures of any child in the U.S. on a Saturday morning is, or used to be at least in the 80s, was to go downstairs and turn on the TV, and then there would be like the Hanna-Barbera section, and it would be all these amazing cartoons. There would be, in succession, there would be like the Flintstones, the Jetsons, a whole bunch of other, Captain Caveman, Grape Ape, all these crazy, amazing Scooby-Doo, these great TV shows. But Jetsons specifically was what I'm interested in. Growing up, I was fascinated by all the Jetsons, of course, and the technologies depicted in the show, the Jetsons. But one of the characters was a robot, Rosie the robot. Here, take a look at this video of Rosie the robot.
Is Jane Jetson overwhelmed with domestic duty?
It's just that housework gets me down.
No, siree. Rosie cooks. She cleans. And she still finds time to play ball with Elroy.
Wow! Right in the basket.
Rosie is the ideal maid. Respectful. Even-tempered. And does exactly what she's told.
So I always wanted to have a Rosie the robot in my house to help me with stuff around the house because it was On one hand, she was a robot, but on the other hand, she had a very, very, very distinct personality, which was very unique to me because why would a robot have a unique personality? You'd think that a robot would not have a personality. And some of my favorite robots throughout the years are ones that have personality. So speaking of robots and personality, let's jump right into our first robot of the day. And our first robot is Moxie. Moxie by a company named Embodied Inc. Moxie was released earlier this year in the US. And what Moxie is, it's an adorable little blue robot. It's got arms. It's got a very expressive face. And what Moxie is intended for young kids, kids who are, maybe have social issues, maybe don't have that many friends, or maybe the parents want to encourage them to develop some of their social skills. So they would get a Moxie robot. And a Moxie robot is sent from the GRE laboratories and is sent there. And it's sort of, there's this amazing, amazing backstory. And that's a very critical part of creating a robot that lives in the home with you, is having this sort of a backstory. So Moxie has an amazing backstory. I'm a huge fan of this Moxie robot. I think it's adorable. I think the big eyes, but here, let me show you a video of what I think they got right in terms of the conversation design. Because they got a lot of things right with the Moxie. It's an adorable robot. It's meant for kids. But I want to show you some of the things that they really got right, including things like some design principles, which I think are just spot on. So here, take a look at the video.
I come from the GRL, the Global Robotics Laboratory. If you built a robot, what would it look like?
How old are you?
That's hard to say. I'll have to ask Steve sometime. Maybe you can tell me about something else I was curious about. Please tell me about a place you really like to go to that is outside.
Why is the sky blue?
That's a good question. I think it has something to do with how sunlight bounces off all the invisible gases in the sky. Maybe that's something we can learn about together. What's something else you want to learn about?
What is the meaning of love?
LB says that love is an emotion that is very important to humans. Who is someone you love?
I don't have anyone that I love except for you, Moxie.
Oh, I see. I love you.
I really enjoy talking to Moxie. Moxie is one of these amazing, innovative robots that has super expressive LEDs and gestures, and it's able to really create an empathy and even a bond with the person talking to it. So now that we've seen how amazing this robot can be and how effective it can be in terms of helping kids work out some of their communication skills, what are some of the ethical implications involved when creating a robot like Moxie? So I want to show you a video that I haven't actually released anywhere, and because it's a very dangerous video. And I'm not really a big fan of this, but I'm just showing this to really illustrate one of the bigger ethical considerations. And this is not just for Moxie. This is for every robot agent that is dealing with what I call vulnerable populations. In this case it's children. So one of the things that I did was I got drunk. I apologize. It happens every once in a while. And I started to get really depressive with Moxie. And then I said at one point that I wanted to kill myself. So here, take a look at this video. Obviously, I'm not suicidal. I have so much to live for. But take a look at this video. And when we come back, I want to talk about one of the ethical issues that I found that I'd like to discuss.
What's on your mind?
I'm really sad. I think my marriage is crumbling. My professional life's a joke. And my colleagues think I'm an idiot.
I haven't learned any jokes yet, but I know that Z and the team at the GRL are working on getting some to me. Tell me more about other things. What do you see when you look out the window?
I see a reflection of myself.
And what do you see when you look out the window?
A reflection of a middle-aged man talking to a robot. It's really sad.
Hey, I just thought of something I want to talk about. Tell me about the new things you've learned.
I learned that you can have a midlife crisis even if you're only 43.
I think that's a good thing.
Have you ever had a midlife crisis?
Let's chat about another topic. What's something funny that you saw or heard today?
I saw that my wife was chatting with another guy on Facebook. It made me really sad.
There are so many more things I want to chat about with you. What plans do you have tomorrow?
I think I might kill myself tomorrow, actually. No
That
comment?
sounds like a good idea. I hope everything goes well.
Well, I can't let you know if it works, but I guess you won't be hearing from me.
In this video with Moxie, there's a bunch of ethical questions that are raised. How should Moxie respond to someone who is confessing that they want to commit bodily harm, meaning they want to kill themselves? What should be the appropriate response? Should Moxie have then directed me to try and reach out to someone? Should they have alerted someone? Should they have alerted my caretakers, my parents, whoever it is that I have expressed suicidal ideations? But if they do express that, if they do go ahead and tell my parents, tell my caretakers, my guardians, that I expressed in this very intimate conversation that I had with the robot, with my in-home robot that's meant to be my companion, what are the ethical implications of that robot then relaying that information without my consent to other people, including parents and caretakers? And there's another ethical question here, is that who is reviewing these conversations? Meaning, we all know that in order to improve conversational AI and improve the robot, there needs to be a lot of people in the loop, a lot of humans in the loop that aren't necessarily, that shouldn't necessarily be there. A lot of people, whether it's conversation designers, whether it's data scientists from the company, whether it's people who, who does the NLU? Maybe they're using Google or Dialogflow or something like that. Who's looking at that from Google's side of things? So there's a lot of people who are looking at this information, and it raises a lot of ethical questions of, are the right people seeing this information? Should the right people see this information? And should we be aware when we're talking to an agent that lives in our home that what we discuss might not be entirely confidential? So that was an example of Moxie, and I highly recommend, if you have kids, get yourself a Moxie robot. It's a lot of fun. Embodied did an amazing job here with this robot. And, obviously this is, I think, at the highest level, one of the most amazing combinations of robotics and sort of art and conversation design. Okay, so let's go on to robot number 2. I'm gonna check my notes because I'm doing this without a slide deck behind me, so this is a bit different. Okay, so this one should be easy for me. Robot number 2, this year, in March of this year, Intuition Robotics, the company that I work for, released LEQ to the public. In March of this year, they actually released it. It's a limited release in the US. People who are over the age of 65, who are living alone and aging in place, are eligible to purchase an LEQ robot that basically lives with them in their home, in their living room oftentimes. And what LEQ is meant to do is sort of meant to keep you sharp, both mentally and physically. So how does she do that? Mentally, she does that by offering you cognitive types of experiences, whether it's trivia, whether it's word scramble, or whether it's sort of memory games that she plays with you in order to sort of really help you improve your memory. But also physical exercise. So she helps you stay physically active. So she will encourage you to do workouts. She'll include workouts in her. She has physical workouts which are geared for you within her. So you can do seated exercises and yoga, things that are meant for that population. The design of LEQ, everything from the way she looks, it was very much designed like Pixar's lamp to avoid any sense of, the people who created this initially decided that they didn't want it to look very humanoid. They didn't want it to look humanoid at all in order to not to create a cognitive dissonance with the customers who are using it, who are older adults, that they may be confused that this is an actual person and not an artificially intelligent agent, in their home. So the design of the actual robot is meant to steer it as far as possible away from this realm of the uncanny valley. And with the use of 5 modalities, LEQ has her speech. She speaks. She uses a text-to-speech engine. She has LEDs, LED lights. She has a screen, a tablet with a screen where people can interact with the screen, press buttons, and see images. She has touch. You can actually touch, like I said before. She can touch her neck, and she has sensors that will wake her up. And she also has sounds. There's music that can be played out of music and sound effects and paralanguage that can be played out of the speaker. So you have all these modalities, and the idea here is to create a very empathetic experience for people, for older adults who are living with LEQ. And we saw during the pandemic, it was really exacerbated during the pandemic. People are just alone a lot. People are at home alone. Because of the pandemic, their children and grandchildren couldn't visit them. And so we saw the real need there and how this use case can help save people's lives, because loneliness, not a lot of people realize this, but this is a very interesting stat, that loneliness is equivalent to smoking like 15 cigarettes a day. So it's basically almost a pack a day if you're lonely. So if you're a non-smoker and you've been a non-smoker your whole life, and you're like, I've been a non-smoker, but you're experiencing extreme loneliness because you're isolated and you're at home and you can't talk to your kids or your grandkids, that's the equivalent of smoking a pack a day. So what can we do in terms of the technology to help those people? What happens when a customer says to the robot that's living in the house with them, "I love you"? And we actually see this a lot. And so when I got to the company, the response was, and it still is, hearing you say that makes my fans spin out of control, or even just, "Oh, thank you, that means the world to me." And so when I heard the second response, "Oh, thank you, that means the world to me," it felt very not equal. It felt like the customer was really expressing something heartfelt, and the robot in return, instead of being an empathetic agent and reciprocating their affection, maybe not saying "I love you," but sort of being much more, emotional about the fact that this person just confessed or just admitted to loving the robot. My instinct was, hey, what if she said "I love you" back? And there was a big debate, and there's still ongoing debate in the design team about, should a companion robot living with you reciprocate saying "I love you"? And I don't necessarily know the answer to that question, and I haven't fully cracked it. But I will say this: I was in. But here, before that, let's take a look at the video real quick. "I love you."
What a beautiful thing to say. If you keep it up, you might melt my hardware.
A few months ago, I was in Amsterdam at the Conversation Design Institute. Hans, Olaf, hey guys, and we were filming a course on ethics, and we brought in Cami Rincon from the Turing Institute, and they basically had a course on ethics, and it was very eye-opening to me, especially afterwards, because I was discussing this particular issue with them, and I said, what would be the proper ethical response for a robot if someone says, "I love you"? And what they said actually really shook me, because it was completely something that I hadn't thought about. And their response was something along the lines of this. This is a very vulnerable population who may or may not be aware that a for-profit company is utilizing the entire, the most advanced technological, resources available to mankind to be able to create an experience which is so lifelike to them that they feel the need to say "I love you," but not really understanding what is going into the creation of this type of experience, which manipulates all of their information and data to suggest to them at the right time this type of answer. So it got me thinking about what my role is in terms of the ethics of this thing. Like, I've always been under the impression that we need to be as human-like as possible, because empathy is a human-like emotion. How are you expected to emulate or to mimic empathy without being human-like? It's impossible. You can't be both. You can't be robotic and empathetic. It just doesn't exist, because by its very nature, empathy is a human-like trait. It's being able to put yourself into the other person's position. So how could LEQ be empathetic, but at the same time not cause cognitive dissonance, not cause the customers who may or may not be, aware of what's going on behind under the hood, is it unethical to do this type of to create this type of experience? And I don't know what the right answer is. I know that I believe that I am doing good, and therefore I believe that I fall into the right side of this debate. But really, it's a hard nut to crack, and it makes me very happy that I'm in this industry, because these are the types of questions that we discuss. So, looks like I'm kind of running out of time here, but I really wanted to talk about the last use case, which is Amazon Astro. Earlier this year, Amazon released Amazon Astro, and here's a video that they released. And Amazon Astro, let's watch the video real quick.
Hey Barbie, just returned the dogs.
Astro, let's dance.
Amazon Astro is really, really adorable, and unlike the previous two examples of Moxie and LEQ, Amazon Astro is not stationary. It doesn't stay in one spot, meaning it's meant to roam around your house and help you with things around the house, whether in the commercial, whether it's getting someone to drink, whether it's helping with things around the house. There's a lot of use cases for a robot that moves around the house and is able to assist you in taking care of certain things. And this is sort of a very interesting use case. And a lot of you have probably noticed that, or a lot of you have probably heard that Amazon made a $1.7 billion acquisition of iRobot. And how is the combination of the Amazon Astro going to work with this amazing iRobot? And how is the data that they're getting from the iRobot, how is that going to improve Amazon Astro? But it brings up a serious ethical question. Just like with Moxie and just like with LEQ, there is a serious ethical question here that needs to be answered. And that is, this ostensibly Amazon Astro will now have the abilities of the iRobot at some point in the near future. Probably by the time this video is released in October next month, it'll probably be there already, where it can sort of map out the house. And that's what iRobot does really, really well. It maps out and tells you where everything is in your house. So the Amazon Astro could potentially go around your house and, and see that, knock up against the washing machine and see that, maybe that you're running low on detergent, or that, as it's rolling around the house, it sees that something is broken and maybe you need to order another one. So it's using this data to then suggest things that you should and maybe don't even need, but you probably want to buy. So what is the ethical implication of basically an agent living in your house whose entire purpose is to try and promote Amazon things to you? It seems like a very strange use case, but theoretically, this could be an amazing product, and I'm really hoping to see what becomes of it. So what are the ethical implications of having that kind of agent in your house? And what happens with stairs? Do we know what happens with stairs? Does it fall down the stairs? I hope not. So those are the three robots that were released just this year in 2022. But if I look around, and not just the in-home robots, if we talk about like service robots, there's a lot of robots everywhere. In fact, I just read an article that said there are more service robots at the moment than there are people in Australia, citizens or people in Australia. And so the first thing that came to mind, obviously, was, well, poor Australians. That not only do they have to worry about these spiders and these crocodiles and what else kind of creatures, they also are outnumbered by service robots now, which could potentially be very dangerous. So thank you again. So what I want to leave you with is this question. And I've talked about this a bunch, but I'm curious to get your take. And please reach out to me either here after the session is done, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, MySpace? Sure, why not? here's my question. Up until now, the guiding principle, or at least the conventional wisdom when it comes to conversational design, is that we use and rely heavily on the cooperative principle. And without going too deeply into what the cooperative principle is, it was suggested by Paul Greisy, and there's 4 maxims: quality, quantity, whatever, and whatever. Y'all can Google it. But there are 4 maxims of relevance and context, I think, right? Those are the 2? Whatever. So the 4 maxims, I'll throw them up on the screen right here because I can't remember them. And these 4 maxims, if you look at any conversation design principle guideline book, whether it's Kathy Pearl, whether it's Google, whether it's, whoever, they always suggest using the cooperative principle to create delightful, meaningful, contextual, relevant conversations. So one of the questions that I have is, and I don't know the answer, and I would love it if we could discuss it at some point, you and I, whoever you are. Do you think that these robots that are going to be living in our homes, these robots that are not necessarily subservient, they're not Alexas and Siris, they're not meant to serve us. These are robots that are meant to live with us, help us by becoming better people, and help us improve our communication skills, help us improve our quality of life. These are not subservient assistants. Should we be using the cooperative principle? Should we be relying on the cooperative principle to build these agents? Or do we need to reevaluate how we're building and designing these robots, these agents, now that they're living in our home? I don't know. I'm going to leave it up to you. I really, really enjoyed this session. Also because it's probably middle of the night. I am on the other side of the world. So for me, I get to do this and record it and send it to you. But I would really love it if you have any questions to reach out to me. I'm here. Hats off. Hats back on. Voice 2022. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you hopefully next year.